In the small town of Ravenswood, nestled between ancient oak trees and hidden in the shadows of misty hills, there lay a cemetery that held stories untold. The air in Ravenswood Cemetery hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and memories long past. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, and the whispers of the departed echoed through the gravestones like the rustling of autumn leaves. One misty evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the worn pathways, a solitary figure wandered into the cemetery. Her name was Evelyn, a curious young woman with an insatiable desire to uncover the mysteries that clung to the air, like the dampness of the evening. Evelyn's footsteps echoed through the silent rows of tombstones, each one a marker for a life lived and now resting beneath the cool soil. The moon cast an eerie glow on the statues and mausoleums, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. As Evelyn strolled deeper into the heart of the cemetery, she noticed a flickering light near an old, weathered crypt. Intrigued, she approached cautiously, her senses heightened by the eerie silence that enveloped the graveyard. To her surprise, the flickering light revealed itself to be an ancient lantern held by a figure kneeling beside a particularly weather-beaten grave. The figure turned to face Evelyn, revealing a spectral visage that seemed to glow in the pale moonlight. It was the ghost of a woman, ethereal and yet unmistakably present. "Who are you?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. The ghostly woman smiled gently, her eyes holding the wisdom of ages. "I am Abigail," she said, "and this is where my story begins." Abigail's tale unfolded like pages of an ancient book. She spoke of love and loss, of a life cut short by tragedy, and of the lingering bond that tied her to the earthly realm. Evelyn listened, captivated by the ghost's words, feeling the weight of history settle around her like a soft shroud. As Abigail's story reached its bittersweet conclusion, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves in the surrounding trees. The atmosphere in the cemetery seemed charged with a strange energy, as if the very earth beneath them held the secrets of countless lives. Evelyn, moved by Abigail's tale, made a silent promise to remember and honor the stories of those cemetery. As she left the sacred ground, the mist began to lift, and the cemetery returned to its silent slumber, cradling the memories of the departed within its ancient embrace. The echoes of Abigail's story lingered in the air, a reminder that even in the quietest corners of the world, the past could speak to those willing to listen. In the pale light of a waning moon, the air was thick with a chilling stillness, broken only by the distant hoots of an owl and the rustling of leaves stirred by an unseen presence. A small group of friends, drawn by the thrill of a Halloween dare, stood just beyond the iron gates of the cemetery. Jake, Sarah, and Mark had heard the local legends about Blackthorn, the tales of restless spirits and a mysterious mausoleum said to hold a dark secret. Tonight, armed with flashlights and nervous laughter, they decided to explore the eerie grounds. The friends followed a narrow path that wound its way through the ancient graves, the crunching of fallen leaves beneath their feet, a haunting accompaniment to their journey. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the cemetery, the air grew colder and the shadows more menacing. A low mist began to rise from the ground, casting an ethereal glow around the tombstones. Mark, always the skeptic, tried to lighten the mood. "Come on, guys. It's just an old cemetery. Nothing to be scared of." But their bravado waned when they reached the crumbling entrance of the mysterious mausoleum. The heavy stone door, adorned with eerie carvings, creaked open with an otherworldly groan, as if reluctant to reveal the secrets within. The friends hesitated, but curiosity prevailed. Armed with flashlights, they stepped into the dimly lit chamber, the air thick with the musty scent of decay. The flickering lights revealed rows of dusty coffins, and the silence of the tomb pressed down on them. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut with a resounding thud. Panic set in as they realized they were sealed inside the mausoleum. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to coalesce into sinister shapes. Whispers echoed through the chamber. disembodied voices speaking in a language long forgotten. Sarah clutched her flashlight, her hands trembling. Mark frantically pushed against the sealed door, but it refused to budge. As the friends huddled together, the temperature plummeted, their breaths visible in the icy air. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on ghastly forms that seemed to mock the living. Suddenly, the lid of one of the coffins creaked open. The friends stared in horror as a skeletal hand emerged, followed by a figure draped in tattered funeral attire. The undead occupant fixed its hollow gaze upon them, a silent harbinger of the macabre. In a desperate attempt to escape, the friends screamed and pounded on the door. The whispers grew louder and the temperature continued to drop. The apparitions seemed to multiply, surrounding them in a spectral dance. Just as terror threatened to consume them, the door creaked open, releasing the friends into the frigid night. They stumbled out, breathless and pale, vowing never to speak of the horrors they witnessed in Blackthorn Cemetery. The mausoleum door swung shut behind them, leaving the ancient burial ground to its eternal silence once more. The secrets of the dead hidden within the cold embrace of Blackthorn Cemetery. The night was as still as death itself in the small town of Hollowbrook. The moon cast an eerie glow over Oak Ridge Cemetery, where ancient tombstones stood like silent sentinels in the pallid light. A chilling wind whispered through the skeletal branches of gnarled trees, sending shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to venture into the graveyard after dark. A group of friends, seeking the thrill of a Halloween night dare, gathered at the wrought iron gates of Oak Ridge Cemetery. Among them were Emily, daring and skeptical, Michael, the thrill-seeker, and Emma, who hid her unease behind a facade of forced laughter. Their flashlights cut through the thick darkness as they entered the cemetery, the gravel crunching beneath their feet. The air grew colder with every step, and the friends couldn't shake the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. As they walked deeper into the heart of the graveyard, a dense fog rolled in, enveloping the tombstones in a ghostly haze. The group approached the crumbling chapel at the center of the cemetery, its broken windows casting distorted shadows on the moss-covered ground. Against the warnings of local lore, the friends decided to enter the chapel, its heavy wooden door groaning on rusty hinges as it swung open. The air inside was damp, and the silence hung heavy, broken only by the faint sound of their footsteps echoing through the empty space. They explored the chapel cautiously, the beams of their flashlights revealing dusty pews and faded religious symbols. As they neared the altar, a cold wind rushed through the chapel, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness. Whispers, soft at first, echoed through the cold air. The friends strained to hear, their hearts pounding in their chests. The whispers grew louder, morphing into anguished cries and indistinct murmurs that seemed to come from all directions. In the flickering darkness, shadows danced across the walls, taking on sinister forms. Emily felt a cold hand brush against her shoulder, and she let out a stifled scream. The friends fumbled to relight their flashlights, their trembling hands betraying their fear. As the lights pierced the darkness once more, the friends recoiled in horror. The chapel seemed transformed, the pews now occupied by shadowy figures, their faces twisted in agony. The air grew thick with a malevolent energy, and the temperature dropped drastically. Desperation set in as the friends tried to escape the haunted chapel, but the heavy door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The anguished whispers intensified, and the figures in the pews turned their spectral gazes toward the intruders. A voice, ancient and sorrowful, echoed through the chapel, recounting tales of lost souls and unfulfilled destinies. The friends clutched each other, paralyzed by fear, as the ghostly apparitions closed in. In the final moments before the darkness consumed them, the chapel door creaked open, and the friends stumbled out into the fog-choked cemetery. The whispers faded, and the air warmed as they fled from the haunted grounds. As they looked back at the chapel, its windows glowed with an otherworldly light, and the whispers lingered in the air. Oak Ridge Cemetery, once a place of rest, held secrets that would forever haunt the memories of those who dared to disturb its eternal slumber.